Hello everyone, this is part 2 of understanding, configure, manage virtual networks in vSphere 5.5. And this is within the video series. This is part 8, video number 8, but it is part 2 for understanding networking. Now within this video I'm going to show you how to work with virtual switches. Most essentially, I'm gonna show you this network. So we're gonna create 3 switches, 1, 2, and 3, with virtual switch 1, virtual switch 2, virtual switch 3, and then we're gonna create 4 VMs, and these VMs, not essentially, they won't be having any operating system, so I'm gonna name them firewall server 1, web server 1, application server, firewall server. On VM number 1, I'm gonna have 2 virtual cards. One card will be connected to virtual switch 0, which will be connected to the public network. Second card will be connected to a virtual switch, and then from second VM and third VM there will be only one virtual card each, and they are all connected to virtual switch 2. And then on virtual switch 4, one card will be connected to VM number 4, one card will be connected to virtual switch 3, and one card will be connected to virtual switch 2. Now if you look carefully, it's just 2 firewalls, one firewall and a second firewall, and there are some servers sitting inside, and we'll be doing this in one ESXi host. Now this is a very good exercise to practice our basic skills in setting up networks within vSphere, within ESXi host, working with virtual switches. So let's work with this. Now I'm gonna do this within ESXi 3. In ESXi 3 I already have 2 network cards, and I'm gonna need 2 network cards, as we remember that we need just 2 physical cards on this host and 3 switches. One physical card will be connected to switch 1, second physical card will be connected to switch 3. Switch 2 has no physical adapters connected. So let's do this. Now in order to do this exercise, we'll do this from a vSphere web client, vSphere client, normal client, the legacy client, and so that we know how to work with virtual switches. Now here in this case we have only one virtual switch. I'm gonna need 2 more virtual switches based on our diagram. So all I need to do is create 2 virtual switches. So how do we create a virtual switch? Add networking. It is saying that okay, you want to create a virtual switch based on VMs, or it should have a VM kernel port. I just need a VM, and then which card you want to use for this virtual, create a virtual standard switch. Both cards are in use. Later on I'm gonna use I'm gonna disconnect card number 1 from switch 0 and then connect it to this switch. For now this switch does not have any cards. So, and the name, so this is a VM network, this is a port group name, we'll leave it as is and create it. So this is my second switch created, and you can see here on the taskbar it is showing that I've just created updated network configuration. Keep an eye on this if there are any errors. Now the second thing, so switch 0, switch 1, I'm gonna need another switch, which is switch number 2, and switch number 2 does not have any network card. So I'm creating the second switch. So second switch, switch 0, switch 1. On switch 1, I'm gonna detach this network card. So I'm gonna remove this network card so that this network card can be connected to my switch number 2. So I removed it from here. Now I'm gonna connect it right here. In network adapters, now I can see this card, which is 1, which is not connected to anyone, and now we can see that I have one network card and one network card with switch 0, one network card with switch 2. Let's see the diagram one more time. Now this diagram was, so switch 1 has one network card, switch 3 has, so in our case it is switch 0, and this is switch number 2, and this switch, which is in our case switch number 1, does not have any network adapter. So our basic configuration is done. Now I need to create 3 VMs, actually 4 VMs. How do we create a VM? Create a new VM, and typical, I'll name this VM VM1 dash, this is firewall server 1. This is my firewall server 1. Let's see the diagram. So this is VM1 firewall server 1, then VM2 web server. Remember that all these VMs are connected to switch 0, but with switch 1 only firewall server 1 will be connected, so we'll keep that in mind. I have to create 4 VMs. So VM number 1 will go with everything default, go with 10 provisioning here, and this one will go with just 2 gigs, because I'm not gonna install the operating system. I'm just creating a placeholder so that we can work with networking. VM number 2, and here VM2 dash app serve. This is app server. Next in provision, and go with 40 gigs. That's fine because it's 10 provisioning, doesn't affect us. Then VM number 3, VM dash web server. This is a web server. Next, and let's just create it. So VM number, oh yes, I have to allocate less space for this. You know what, let's do it properly. So delete this VM. I'm gonna recreate. The error was because I allocated 40 gigs for the first VM, and at least for allocation it has to have that much of space. Now, so this is VM2 dash web server. Next, here I'll just give 2 GBs to this, and 10 provisioning. Next, and this is my third VM. Oh, I remember, because I just clicked next. It tried to do thick provisioning last time, that's why it gave the error message. So VM app serve, this is our app server, and next 2, and and 10 provisioning. Next, done. Last VM I'm gonna create with VM dash firewall server 2. This is my firewall server 2. 10 provisioning, 2 GBs. It's all 10 provisioning. Now I have 4 VMs, and all of the 4 VMs are sitting in where? Switch number 0, because they are by default going to switch number 0. Let's look at our diagram one more time. Now here I need to have 2 network adapters in VM1, 2 network adapters in VM4, and one network adapter here, and then 1 network adapter connect to vSwitch 0. So let's do this. So first of all, firewall server 1, how many adapters do we need? 2 network adapters. So with this VM, this is my VM, Now within this VM I'll go to settings. Within settings I have only one network adapter, and that is connected to VM network 0. I'll add another network adapter, and that will be connected to VM network 2. So now, and so this one has two network adapters, and this one also. So on the second firewall server I'm gonna add the second network adapter, which is done like this. Add a network adapter, and it should be connected to switch number 2. So switch number 2. Okay, and then these, so now I have two network adapters here. So now we can see that firewall server 1 is connected to this switch, and it is also connected to this switch, and firewall server 2 is connected to this switch, and it should be actually connected to VM network here. So I'll have to move this server from here to here. How do I do that? Right click, properties, edit settings, go to adapter number 1, change this to 3. So now I have firewall server 1 connected here and with this switch, and firewall server 2 connected here and with this switch. My last change will be to move these both machines, web server and app server, from here, switch here, to this switch. So how do I do that? Go into web server, edit settings, and go to adapter, change this to vSwitch 2, and same thing here, change this to vSwitch 2. So now if we go back, now it is exactly like the diagram. I have only on vSwitch 0 I have only one VM, which is firewall server 1, and on vSwitch 2 I have all the 4 VMs, and then vSwitch 3 I have only server 2. Now let's look at the diagram one more time. So same configuration. So guys, this is how we do work with virtual switches in ESXi. Now, so please do this lab, document it so that you can you get some practice in configuring or working with network card, virtual VMs, and the virtual cards in VMs. So now the last point is that I'm gonna add this 70, this third host, to the vCenter. How do I add it? Now within vCenter I'll go to my data center where I need to add. So I'm gonna add a host, and this host is with the IP address 192.168.100.70, and next, and password is root. It will ask me for confirmation, and it is showing me that it has 4 VMs. It's fine. Next, I'm not enabling the lockdown mode. It will be added, so in few seconds it will be added. So, and once it is added, then we'll verify the networking on that ESXi host. ESXi host. So this is added, and it shows us the same configuration that we did. It shows me 3 switches, switch 0, 1, 2, and it has 2 physical adapters and 1 management port, two physical adapters. One adapter is connected to switch 0, the other adapter is connected to switch 2. So that's another big difference in web client, that it is very clearly shown here as compared to here, where you still need to find out where the adapters and networking. So it is kind of more manageable, more presentable within vSphere web client. With this I would ask all of the students to do this lab, document this lab, and redo this, I would say, at least 2 or 3 times in order to work with virtual networking. Now we did this in legacy network. If you've already done this to a legacy network, I would highly recommend doing this in a web client. So for that, I would recommend creating a brand new host, like maybe ESXi4, and then work with that. Within ESXi4, add 3 switches, make 4 VMs, and do all this from the web client. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.